West Africa has an abundant reserve of minerals, produce, sun, and most importantly, people. Compared to other regions in the world, West Africa does not lack in the potential of being a powerhouse in terms of production. Why then are there ongoing issues with poverty, housing, road networks, and technological advancement? If you listen to me, I'll explain to you why West Africa is considered a poor region in the world and 4 indicators that can determine if a country will be rich or poor by the end of this video. If this will be a good use of your time, let's begin. There's 4 areas that are good indicators if a country is going to be rich or poor. Those areas are infrastructure, education, corruption, and natural resources. Roads, bridges, highways, tunnels, railways, airports, sea terminals, and more. These are the foundations of which trade is built, and trade is the main driving force behind economic growth. You bring products into the country and then export your own. Transportation is vital to any long-term financial success of any country because this allows people to transport goods throughout the land. It allows one to exchange products and increase the overall ability of everyone to add value. Being able to take your car, bike, or motorcycle and travel to another side of the country to work, to go to school, or even make it to the hospital in time, roads touch on almost every aspect of a functioning society. Now, politicians will try to get votes by bribing people to vote for them, but the actual road work is never completed, or it never happens because constructing roads is very expensive. A lot of them will only offer contracts to people that will give them personal gain. This robs the constituents of their limited tax dollars and strips away the potential benefit to the community that would have came out of the completed project. Not only can teachers be corrupt, but a lot of them use outdated information, and many teachers are non-existent in some areas. Teachers are poorly paid, unprepared, have more children in the class than they can handle, lack the proper teaching tools to do their jobs effectively, and in a lot of cases are unqualified to be teaching anyone. This is actually a huge problem in Nigeria right now. This puts the population in a situation of the blind leading the blind. Poorly trained teachers develop narrow-minded students, and those students are not being properly groomed to add value to the marketplace or even trained to be competitive from a global perspective. This renders a lot of the education process in these countries useless. The point of education is to learn how to be the most productive person you can for yourself, your community, and eventually the world. An uneducated population is more easily manipulated and allows for corruption to continue unchallenged. Intellectual capital is the key to escaping poverty at a national level. Now, definitely don't be fooled in external aid and charitable giving actually helping the situation at an impactful level either. In several situations, computers were donated to communities that didn't even have electricity. When the government fails, there's little hope that others can provide, and it all starts at how educated the population is. So the third point to tell if a country is going to be rich or poor is corruption. So this one is an easy one. The top 20 poorest countries are the most corrupt, while the richest countries in the world are the least corrupt. When corruption doesn't exist, the state institutions run effectively, with those placed in positions of power having earned that position through their own merits. Resources are not wasted, and people generally trust the government to make their lives easier and safer. Corruption is not limited to politicians and can begin in schools with the bribery of good grades, whereas the teacher is the one that suggests it. So one thing that comes to mind is UNILAG, the University of Lagos, where a lot of female students, in order to get the grades that they want, they sleep with the teachers, or the teachers, kind of proposition them like, hey, look, if you want to pass this class, then, do something for me. And it's a big problem in University of Lagos. So what this does is it's not trustworthy. You don't know if these grades are really due to hard work, or is it just through coercion or forced grades, fake grades. So it's definitely a big problem, and at least with that university I know of. Police officers asking for bribes in order to let you pass on the road, even landing high-paying jobs or contracts in different industries can depend on if you pay off the right people. Corruption can be in the way citizens' rights are handled. Institutions are the rules of the game. They create the incentives for people and businesses. For example, when people are able to earn a profit from their work or business, they have an incentive not only to produce but also to continually improve their method of production. The rules of the games help determine the economic incentive to produce. On the flip side, if people are not monetarily rewarded for their work or business, or if the benefits of their production are likely to be taken away or lost, the incentive to produce will diminish. Reminds me of a case of in Nigeria where you'll have governors get mad at certain people of the media and will just destroy their businesses. So remember there was cases of hotels being destroyed, radio stations being destroyed, just ridiculous. For this reason, institutions such as property rights, free and open markets, and the rule of law provide the best incentives and opportunities for individuals to produce goods and services. The population should be able to prevent corruption and vote corrupt leaders out, but in most cases, the population is corrupt themselves, which further shortchanges their future for a minimal instant gain. A lot of people keep voting in corrupt politicians because of promises of bribes and other incentives that are actually paid for by uneducated populations. As long as the population allows this, the country will be stuck in place and even will regress. I don't mean to use Nigeria all the time, but I am familiar with Nigeria, and I think it goes without saying corruption has just decimated that country. And the fourth way to tell if a country is going to be rich or poor is by how many resources they have, natural resources that they have. Now, think about this. If you don't have natural wealth, you need to invest a lot in research and development in order to create new technology to generate some type of value. In naturally rich countries, there is little to no effort involved because the government will trade raw but valuable materials in direct exchange for cash. Other countries will then do all the work in processing those raw materials, reaping most of the real profits. There's something called the AGOA agreement, which is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, where basically sub-Saharan African countries have an agreement with the US where there's no tariffs on them exporting their raw materials. The problem is it incentivizes these countries to not process their own natural resources. And if you don't understand, the main bulk of value and money is when these natural resources are processed. So the government incentivizes these sub-Saharan African countries to send their natural products, their natural resources, but there's a tariff added if they process those resources themselves and then try to export it to the US. So it's cheaper for these countries just to send the raw product, and then the US or wherever, or in this case the US, will process that material, and then those countries will have to buy back essentially their own commodities. So there's a situation where the Ghanaian president is really fighting against this as far as their cocoa production in their own country. So they're the second largest cocoa producer, and I believe in the world. And basically the Ghanaian president is saying, look, we're tired of sending out our cocoa and we're only getting a fraction of the wealth that everyone else is making, because they'll send out their cocoa and then other countries will process that cocoa, and then if Ghana wants, the chocolate or any chocolate products, then they will have to buy it from those countries, and the wealth is in the processing. So this is something that currently the Ghanaian president is trying to fix. So because of the nature of the transaction is simple, it allows the government to be unsophisticated, which in turn brings out corruption. So let's do a recap on all these points. The first point, as far as a country being rich or poor, is movement. In this case, infrastructure. So movement is difficult when you don't have adequate transportation infrastructure. So think about when someone is trying to transport tomatoes. Tomatoes in the heat. What starts to happen, and because of poor networks and all the hazards with that, the product spoils. It spoils and it doesn't get a chance to make it to where it needs to get to, because of the sun just messes it up, or it can even come to maybe flies or anything else like that can destroy the product. So infrastructure is really important. Transportation infrastructure is really important in order to move things around efficiently. Second point is education. So education needs to be practical. It can't just be, okay, just build a school and then there's no goal for what that school is supposed to be doing for the country. So poor and non-competitive education keeps a nation stuck in its past. See this a lot with a lot of these Nigerian schools where they just follow the European model and they don't really address the need of the country, which is, hey, you need more trades. You need to create a generation of students and young people that are able to take over when the older people die and pass away. So a lot of the education is just, I mean, it's not effectively preparing the younger generation to be competitive in the world. The third point is obvious, corruption. So you can't run a nation as effectively with brazen corruption in every institution and level of government. So I think it's obvious countries that have so much corruption, they just can't move forward, and it's just a tragedy. So, and the fourth point is, the resources. So if you're blessed with abundance, it takes away the incentive to try hard. But also with agreements like the AGOA agreement, it can take away more of the incentives to process the natural resources internally and export the value added product, and for reasons already explained before. So, do you agree with the points in this video? Are there any relevant topics that you would like for me to discuss in a video? If you have any ideas, then please let me know in the comment section down below. And also check this video's description for some helpful sources, such as my course on how to build a strong business foundation that can help you obtain generational wealth. Now, if you need more specialized help, then you can definitely book a session on my website, businesscenter101.com, and I can definitely help you with your business creation. I'll also put in a link for an ebook that talks about 50 ways to be a millionaire in Nigeria. Now, you can actually try these ways in any other African country, but what I like about this ebook is it talks about the case studies of these ideas, and also it does do a SWOT analysis for these ideas as well. So all you gotta do is just click on the link. It's completely free, and then you'll get that information. If you found this video helpful and relevant for you and your journey, then definitely consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the bell so that you're alerted when I do release new videos. If you know anyone that can benefit from this video, then please like and share this video with them. I would truly appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next video.